Why is it? I mean, they're so selective with what they disclose in terms of metrics that every time they give us something new, it looks a little suspect.
I think if you're Nielsen, you're looking at Reed Hastings showing a chart of Google Trends and saying this is our market opportunity to find a key metric that's audited by a third party that you can use to measure Disney Plus and Peacock and Netflix if you are an investor or if you are an advertiser.
You trust them?
I don't. The Witcher is a great show, and I think The Witcher went sort of undercovered because it is a fantasy show. It wasn't marketed. Netflix doesn't have to market that way. You should show it to people. But they hit exactly their audience. It blew up. It is a well-watched show. People love it. Is it their Game of Thrones? Is it going to drive like Mandalorian? Remains to be seen. So I think he's correct in saying, hey, we do have a big hit TV show. We can make these. We do have investment into originals. Whether or not this new metric about time watched, where he's comparing himself to YouTube, he's comparing himself to BBC iPlayer.
Yeah.
He's not going up against traditional TV, which is where he needs to be.
Yeah, I do wonder, though, how much those changes in metrics, because the company also said it's going to boost the numbers by 35%, how much those metrics are less about investors and more about acquiring talent, given how heated the content competition is right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're spending money. I think ultimately it's about money, and then it's about audience. If you look at historically creators on Netflix, they have complained that once they sell the show to Netflix and put it, they feel just as mercy to the algorithm as any other platform because they don't get that additional marketing support. They don't get that, billboards everywhere. The way that Disney can promise them with their reach across linear, with their reach across theme parks, I think that's going to be a continued fight to say, hey, Netflix is more than just where all the people are. It's actually a cultural experience that the other more traditional players are very well set up to do.
Bottom line question, I think, is this a fair fight between Netflix and all the other streamers? Because if it is, doesn't Netflix lose? I mean, look what Disney's got in terms of library and brands that they've bought over time. Look at all the money that Apple has. I mean, the story on Netflix was supposed to be they had better algorithms, they had better data. Do they?
Yeah, is there going to be a Netflix theme park? Are they going to have to come up with multiple additional revenue streams?
Are they just a media company, or are they a data play?
Right, against their, I mean, they spend a lot of money on content. They have one particular way of monetizing that content, and then like a little bit of product placement inside the shows. Disney spends a lot of money on content. They have 45 revenue streams against that content. Apple's, their entire play, they're just trying to get you to open that app. Like, that's all they want you to do. Just like, check out this TV app. We'll spend a lot of money to get you to open it. Netflix, I think, has to diversify its revenue base. They haven't yet said how they're going to do it, but I think they have some opportunities. Can they hit those opportunities as quickly as they need to? Can they hit those opportunities at scale while everyone else comes for them?
It's a key question. You mentioned Apple, of course. So the president sat down with our own Joe Kernan this morning in Davos, gave his take on Apple, this rift with the DOJ. Take a listen.
I like them a lot. Yeah. I think we should do some encryption. I think we should start finding some of the bad people out there that we can do with Apple. I think it's very important. Frankly, I've helped them a lot. I've given them waivers because I want them. It's a great company, but it made a big difference. And, they compete against Samsung, mostly Samsung. I guess that would be their number one competitor. That's from South Korea. It's not fair because we have a trade deal with South Korea, so Samsung would get the no waiver, and they would have to pay tariffs. So I did waivers, but I want them to help us a little bit. Apple has to help us, and I'm very strong on it. They have the keys to so many criminals and criminal minds, and we can do things. When they had the problem with the recently in Florida, I won't go into it because it's so horrible.
Right.
But they could have given us that information. It would have been very helpful.
Well, we don't need a backdoor way in getting into the wrong hands either.
I understand. You know what? I understand both sides of the argument.
And this one hurts relationship with Tim.
If you're dealing with drug lords, if you're dealing with terrorists, and if you're dealing with murderers, I don't care. We have to find out what's going on.
President met with Tim Cook for breakfast in Davos earlier today. Cook knows the president's transactional. Now, does he have to weigh what I've been given versus what I may have to give?
I was talking to some security folks this morning. I think Apple has ended up in a very difficult spot. If they give the United States government a backdoor, they're going to have to give that same backdoor to China. They're going to have to give that same backdoor to India. They're going to have to make it so that the United States government, when it needs a physical unlock, can get one, but no one else can. Or they can do what they've been doing, which is leave iCloud backups unencrypted. There was that report in Reuters that said they thought about encrypting end-to-end iCloud backups, but they decided not to because the FBI pressured them. That is also a problem, right? That means your data is far less secure than their marketing suggests. It means the government can get a warrant and go get your iCloud messages. Everyone's iCloud data, except for the Chinese population, is stored in the United States. That means if you're a foreign government and you have an iPhone and your officials are backing up to iCloud, it is potentially possible for the United States government to spy on your leaders. That is an entirely thorny mess of issues. There's hard to see a clear solution. And I think, Trump's sophisticated understanding of the situation has led him to a place that I think is sort of morally wrong, which is to say, I gave you a tariff waiver. Now you have to unlock the phone and open up Pandora's box of privacy.
It's called leverage, isn't it?
It is, but
he's the king of leverage.
He's the king of leverage, but I think the danger of providing that back door is so extraordinarily high, not only for the average citizen who doesn't want to be surveilled, but for the functioning of our government, for the functioning of our business leaders, for just honestly cyber war.
So there's no reason for Tim Cook to do it. It sounds like what you're saying. I mean, yeah, it's not a great position to be in, but he can't create a backdoor because it blows up the business, right?
I think that's where it gets really murky. I saw Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella last week. He said there are models where you do key escrow, where we do find ways to try to keep those keys secure, but none of them are as secure as just not doing it. And I think the big problem for Cook is right now he has the moral conviction to not do it. He's going to take the heat, can face down the president. He can make this argument about Samsung. But if Trump and Barr get Congress together and they say, look, because of child abuse, because of terrorism, because of violence, because of drug lords, we are going to write a law that mandates a back door, there's no moral conviction that can get him past that. So I think he's walking that line very, very carefully.
Yeah.
Certainly.